Welcome to Cyber in Practice, episode 21. I'm Lewis Knox, and in this session, we'll demonstrate how to discover assets, identify exposed services, and evaluate security risk within a controlled environment. These activities provide the visibility needed to understand and manage an organizational attack surface. What is asset discovery? Asset discovery is the process of identifying systems, services, and technologies within an environment. Throughout the lifecycle, we progress from discovering assets to inventorying systems, listing services, assessing exposure, and pinpointing risk. Each step builds the visibility needed for effective security management. Why discovery matters. Organizations can't protect assets they don't know exist. Unknown systems, exposed services, shadow IT, and undocumented infrastructure all increase risk. Assets discovery helps uncover these issues, providing the visibility needed to manage exposure and reduce an organizational attack surface. The demonstration focuses on several key concepts: host discovery, asset inventory, service enumeration, open ports, exposure analysis, and risk identification. Together, these activities help security teams understand what systems exist, what services are exposed, and where potential risks may be present. Our objectives are straightforward. We'll discover active hosts, create an inventory, enumerate services and open ports, identify potential risks, and document our findings. These steps mirror the core activities commonly performed during security assessments and risk management efforts. For this exercise, we'll use Kali Linux, Nmap, a Windows virtual machine, and structured documentation templates. We'll follow a workflow of discovery, inventory, enumeration, exposure analysis, and risk identification. Let's move into the lab and see the process in action. Now we'll begin the asset discovery phase of the assessment. Asset discovery is important because organizations cannot effectively identify or manage risks associated with systems they do not know exist. To identify active systems on the network, I'll perform a host discovery scan using Nmap. Host discovery scan has identified 4 active hosts on the network. Some of these addresses represent virtual networking infrastructure, while others represent active virtual machines. For this demonstration, I will focus on Windows virtual machine located at 192.168.56.102. Now that the asset has been identified, I'll begin documenting it. This tab contains the asset inventory. The asset inventory provides visibility in the systems identified during the assessment and serves as a foundational component of risk management. Here I have documented the Windows virtual machine that was identified during the host discovery, including its IP address and asset information. Maintaining an accurate asset inventory helps organizations understand what systems exist within their environment and supports future assessment activities. Now that the target asset has been identified, I'll perform service discovery against the Windows virtual machine. Service discovery helps identify network services that are accessible on a system and provides visibility into potential attack surfaces. The scan has identified several active services running on Windows virtual machine. The services support operating system functionality, but they also represent network accessibility resources that should be considered during risk management activities. At this stage, I'm not performing vulnerability analysis. The objective is to identify assets and services that may contribute to organizational risk. Next, I'll review the service inventory created from the service discovery result. This tab contains the service inventory. The service inventory records the services identified during enumeration, including associated ports and their purpose. Reviewing this information helps organizations understand what resources are exposed and provides context for future risk assessments. Based on assessment results, I've documented the services discovered on the Windows virtual machine, including RPC, NetBIOS, SMB, Remote Desktop Protocol, and the HTTP API service. With the assets and service identified, I can now move on to risk identification. This tab contains the risk identification table. The purpose of this table is to connect discovered services to potential organizational risk. Rather than focus on vulnerabilities, risk identification focuses on understanding how discovered services could potentially impact confidentiality, integrity, or availability. For example, RDP protocols on port 3389 could create a risk of unauthorized remote access. SMB on port 445 could create a risk of data exposure or unauthorized file access. NetBIOS on port 139 may contribute to information disclosure risk. Microsoft RPC on port 135 contributes to the overall attack surface of the system. The HTTP API service on port 5357 represents another exposed service that should be considered during ongoing risk management activities. The identified risks have also been mapped The confidentiality, integrity, and availability impacts to provide additional context for future assessments. These findings establish the foundation for the next phase of risk management lifecycle. This workflow summarizes everything we completed during the demonstration. We discovered assets, documented them in an inventory, enumerated services, analyzed exposure, and identified risk. Each stage builds on the previous one, creating a structured approach to understand and manage the security risk. Today's demonstration showed that security begins with visibility. Unknown assets increase risk, service enumeration reveals potential attack paths, and risk identification supports informed decision making. Maintaining accurate asset inventories helps organizations continuously understand and manage their security exposure.
Thank you for watching Cyber in Practice. If you enjoyed this demonstration, stay tuned for future Cyber in Practice episodes.